Hello, everybody.
Welcome to another episode of Uninformed. We have Josh and Artemis with us today.
Yes, we are so excited. KARI is not here. KARI is gallivanting all over America. Something about the cabal. I don't know. I don't really understand it. Knitting. I don't know. A bunch of weird, random things I don't really understand. But we are so excited to have Josh and Artemis here today, who has been suspiciously absent from the internet. We didn't know if you guys were kidnapped or, move into a secret location, put under like Canadian, like, I don't know, like we have here, like the government will like hide you and change your name. And so
witness protection program.
Witness protection program. And so we are so excited to have you back. We love it too, because you said you would love to come on as long as we don't talk about UFOs. And this is one show where we absolutely do not talk about UFOs in any goddamn fashion.
Yeah, we're
really excited today, and like you guys said, I mean, we wouldn't have done this if it was UFOs. So I'm really glad that you guys have another show which isn't a part of that, because I think you guys as well, like we always used to talk about this in like the background, but we always thought your show was more than UFOs anyway.
Yeah.
I think you guys have like that kind of
like a broad
and just like the way you bounce off each other, I think it's. I think your show is bigger than UFOs, if that makes sense. You can go further. So I'm pleased that you guys are doing this for sure.
Yeah, and we were excited to have you guys come on, because I think what's important about like this show in particular is like bringing everybody's different opinions and perspectives from all over the world, And so we were like, oh my God, how perfect. We have Artemis, who's up in Canada, and then Josh, who's in Canada now, but from the UK. And so like all these different perspectives, it's like, we had to have someone here with KARI gone elsewhere in the world, or else it's just three Americans, like pumping each other up.
No, we're also different.
We need another man from the UK. John.
Exactly. Yeah. We're the first place that we go to.
I don't know, but also because we know we're gonna have conflicting views, and it's like we're not gonna hate each other after the show. So I hope we also,
it's fine to disagree with things. It doesn't mean that. It literally just means that you just disagree on some points. Doesn't mean that we can't be friends.
Yeah, 1,000% conversation, really. Yeah,
it's sad that that's just not a common thing. We all know that. I mean, we saw, especially like here in America, when elections happen and stuff. I mean, it's just wild. People, family members, unfollowed each other just because they had a different political view. Or even just cut each other out of their lives. Like it's like we're missing. It's
wild.
It's unfortunate because everybody has the right to think or believe what they want, but there has to be some kind of common respect, and there's always something that you have in common with somebody. I mean, it could be something really random, but there's always some kind of common ground.
Oh, for sure.
You might change your view
debate and stuff. Yeah,
you change your view too. I know there's plenty of times where I had a viewpoint and then, someone gave me a different perspective of it. And I'm like, I absolutely see what you're saying. Yeah. And that's important for us to grow,
For sure. Look at us. We used to be believers
we used
in UFOs, and we switched, but we can still respect people even if that's what they want to like believe in, or if that's what their opinion is, you can still respect them, but you don't have to agree. And
absolutely.
I have to ask though, what have you guys been up to? And have you guys like completely blocked out UFOs from your mind, or is it something you're kind of like watching on the sidelines, but that it's hostile to participate in?
It's I kind of get sucked back into it a lot. Like in the last few weeks, like I've noticed, I'm commenting on Stephen Greenstreet, I'm commenting on Greenwald. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing again? What am I doing?
I know. Like you're spending a lot more time on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like I know. I need to mute more words.
So I think it was a couple of days ago I went on Twitter and I muted like Congress, UAP, UFO, Kirkpatrick. I muted basically every single word associated with UFO.
Yeah.
So now my timeline is completely clean, so it's great.
It's like a cleanse, really.
Yeah.
That's basically.
I actually blocked the first person in probably a year on Twitter because I don't like to block people, because even if they have a viewpoint that I don't like, or they're a piece of shit, or whoever the fuck they are, right? I kind of want to see their tweets because I want to see the things that they are saying. Because part of the entire conversation. And then a few days ago, I actually blocked Bette Midler because she tweeted a whole bunch of blue check marks, and I was like, I was already done with all these celebrities. Like, oh my God, I don't have my blue check mark anymore. Wah, I'm not special. And then she just tweeted the dumbest fucking thing, and I was like, blocked.
That's just like
Wow.
this
Sometimes that's all it takes, though. One thing will like set you off and be like, you know what? I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
No,
like
for real.
When you see like 20 posts from like all these different celebrities, and then you see Bette Midler, who hasn't been relevant for 30 fucking years, go, well, Elon Musk took my stop, done. You're blocked.
Oh my God, the blue checkmark thing is hilarious, though. Bree, if you want to throw that in there, the whole blue checkmark controversy is like fucking hilarious.
Do you see that stuff with Elon Musk today, when I think his lawyers are going to argue in court about that Tesla driver who crashed that Asian guy? I think his lawyers are going to argue that it was a deep fake video or something.
Ooh.
So that's like the first time I've seen like a kind of like a celebrity or public figure use that excuse.
Use that.
Wow.
So it's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
It's pretty interesting.
Ooh.
Well,
That'll be juicy to talk about for sure.
No, for real.
yeah.
All right, Bree, why don't you pull
wait,
the...
hold on. We need to know, what's the new channel? Is it a channel? What's going on?
Oh, yeah, where everyone can find you at now. Like, is it the same
I'm sure
YouTube channel? Is it
people are wondering,
Twitch?
like, where
Still the
are
same channel.
Still the same channel. We were going to delete or like hide all the UFO stuff. Then we just decided why, like,
Yeah, leave it.
Part of our history.
it's part of the history, part of how we grew our channel in the first year. But we did take like 6 months off. We just did a complete detox. We kind of took our time with deciding like where we wanted to go with the channel, and you know, what do we want to talk about if it's not about UFOs and stuff like that. And I think that was really good for like our mental health. You know, we just kind of reprioritized and refocused. The new channel is going to be completely different. I mean, we have started uploading a couple of videos. Like, we started like this horror video game. So we were like, why don't we do like a walkthrough live while we're playing it, since we were just starting it. So
Love that.
we're doing that, which is totally different, but it's been really fun. And but we're going to do like more like live reaction kind of videos, either to like current news going on, or just to like maybe like some cooking stuff. Like it could be anything, like movie reviews and stuff like that.
We're also going to film some stuff tomorrow. We're working on something about the Kardashians.
Ooh.
So
we found out a lot of
some
dirt.
Some dirt on
about the Kardashians.
absolute dirt.
Stop, you guys should get into blind items. That's what you guys should get into. You would love that. Blind items. Blind items are verified pieces of information about famous people that are put out there into the world that aren't like in the mainstream media. It'll be like, you know, they're like stylist or something, like emailing. And there's like certain tabloids who specifically only talk about blind items, but they all give the information with like, they'll be like, oh my God, you won't believe who Kylie Jenner was with last night. Like we were at Taco Bell. And
it won't be that kind of gossip though.
You know what I'm saying? But like it's like stuff like that. And it's all sorts of crazy things that are like behind the scenes that like only people who were like in the room would know something like that was happening. And it's like
verified source.
It's more like, I guess, like exposing like different sort of things, or you know, if something big comes up in the news or goes under the radar, kind of like this like Cleopatra controversy, which we put in the poll.
Or the train
like,
derailment
that we want to like talk about live, but it'll be sort of, well, it'll be really different. Like we won't maybe go live as often, and then
Thanks, Enzo.
Yeah, thanks, Enzo. And then we want to have like shorter videos, because like sometimes we'd be going live for like 3 hours more, and it's like, you know, I feel like some, or like a lot of people want more like bite-sized content as well. So I do talk a lot, so I got to work on that.
I think it's good to have a balance of all those things when you have a channel, so that way, you know, you have the people who want to watch long form videos, you have the people who want to like dig smaller pieces of information. So I think that all that kind of stuff is important.
Yeah, like a good balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like obviously those streaming streaming videos are longer for sure.
Oh, for sure.
It's been good.
We've just spent a whole load. We've just bought like loads of programs to edit stuff as well.
Yeah.
So we're gonna basically. I don't
So
think
that
we'll be doing much live stuff, like going live for like an hour. It's going to be very short stuff.
Yeah.
Which is so we can probably spend a day filming and film like 2 or 3 things and.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a good balance, but also a nice change. And it has been fun. We've been spending a lot of time the last like month or so just kind of learning about like different ways to edit videos and like just learning and getting comfortable with the program. So we have been taking our time with it, but yeah, now we're ready. Like, let's
That is so
get
cool.
in, just get into it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, yeah.
So yeah, it was perfect timing.
Who is there?
Who's there?
Who's that?
I wonder.
It is me.
Oh,
Wow.
hello.
Well, look who's
I
here.
appeared.
The secret American.
Secret American.
Are you-
Dutton Ranch. I'm a secret American.
Do you live in America now?
I'm now a Fed. Okay.
Do you live in America now? Is that just like the thing?
Apparently, I live in America now.
Wow.
You're in LA. You're at Universal
You're
Studios.
American now. No
I'm
offense.
all over. I am America.
Your God,
You
you're
are now
omnipresent.
America.
I am. I am the personification of America.
Okay, well, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate
Well,
it.
it's
Are
okay.
you-
Thank you for having me on my own show.
I was like,
Yeah.
are you going to hang out with us
on.
for the rest of the show?
Yeah, I'll be here for the rest of the show. Unless you offend
Wow.
me. If you guys offend me, I'm just going to leave.
Oh. Well,
Oh.
I feel like you're easily
Is that a
offended.
challenge
You're like
accepted?
I was like, you're a little brief.
Maybe.
Yeah, is this a good time to tell you that you're a piece of shit?
So
Let's
cool.
ease into it. Let's ease.
Too much too fast.
Okay.
Too much too fast. All right, Bree, let's pull out the first topic then now that everyone's here.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't
Let me
have
see. Oh, there,
toast and beans.
Don't find the- Okay. Ooh, this is a tight one.
In face ketchup. Would be funny actually if it was true.
Debt ceiling.
Hmm.
I don't know what that
Wow.
is. Well, I'm an uninformed in this one. I have
This
to
is
hear.
this is all Tony. So Tony, why don't we?
Feeling?
Is
That-
this strictly from America, Tony, or is this worldwide debt?
Well, This
Worldwide,
is
of course.
America.
Oh,
because-
America,
That's a good song.
because Americans only think about Americans.
Absolutely.
You're not the center of the universe.
I know in the UK and in
I have a
Canada, they
hard
just
time
raise
accepting that.
taxes and make you pay more taxes and just pretend like the debt ceiling doesn't exist. But in the United States, where we somehow went from the early 1990s from having a national debt to Pluto, I guess. I don't know who the fuck we owe money to.
China.
The Chinese.
Well, now it's China. But of
Yeah.
1.2 trillion or like 3.2 trillion dollars to somehow we're at 32 trillion dollars. Like that's just a made up number.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like who do we owe? What do we owe this money to? Right? So the debt ceiling every year, because Congress hasn't passed an actual budget in like 30 years.
Yeah.
Every year all they do is they just increase the debt ceiling. They say, well, if we can't agree on a budget, so we have to increase the debt ceiling. By the way, these are the same people who are giving you a credit score.
Those bastards.
They're just saying, well, we're going to run out of money by April or June or July or whatever. So we have to increase the debt ceiling by $1.3 trillion. And what just happened yesterday is the Republicans in the House passed a bill that raised the debt ceiling $1.3 trillion, but it made a bunch of cuts to a lot of programs.
Mm-hmm.
So today, all the Democrats are just saying, well, they want to cut food stamps. They want to cut all these other things, veteran benefits, which are not cutting veteran benefits. They're cutting the amount of people who work for the VA. And if you've ever dealt with the VA, it's the worst fucking thing in the world to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what I hear.
That's always the play, like how they're cutting the debt, and that goes back and forth between should government be bigger, should government be smaller. And one of the things that happened was back during the pandemic, we spent an incredible amount of money that should not have been spent. Trillions and trillions of dollars were passed on bills to give people $3,000 checks or $2,000 checks, the payroll protection plan money, which a lot of that was needed, but some of it turned into like really weird things, like giving $1 billion to Pakistan for gender studies.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right now. We're skirt. No,
We
skirt.
went from the debt ceiling to gender studies. Yeah, I love it.
Okay, I don't really care about that. Okay, here's what you need to understand, Tony. Here's the deal. The reason that we're so much in debt is because governments have found a way to funnel money into their own businesses and their own pockets. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's personal privilege, Tony.
Okay.
Okay. So you have these big giant people who are up in the government who pretty much control everything and own all the corporations, and they're literally taking all of this government money and giving themselves contracts. We're spending way too much money on our military for no goddamn reason. There's tons of reasons. It's not because we spent what you're talking about, although the way you're talking about it makes it sound really big, was so small. What money they gave out during COVID compared to the amount of money that's been stolen over the years from people who are in power. It's not because they gave checks to people or they funded gender studies. At the end of the day, they should be doing those things. That's what a government is supposed to be fucking doing. The government bails out banks, businesses, and all sorts of stuff, and nobody has any issue with that. But the minute it comes to it being involved with the people, whether that be the people having healthcare, having Planned Parenthood being funded, or things like that, all of a sudden, oh no, we can't do that. We're wasting money on things. The reason we're in debt and the reason why we continue to have a higher and higher ceiling debt is because the people who are in charge and the people who are profiting off of that are the people who are in charge of making those regulations and dictating those things. Period. End of story. It's nothing beyond that or outside of that. There's not some conspiracy or anything outside of that. It's the people who are in charge, mostly the Republicans, are funding their money into things that are their own personal shit.
So they
Period, end of story.
So we just passed that infrastructure bill, right? $1.3 trillion infrastructure bill. Part of that infrastructure bill goes towards a new tunnel for the New York City area. I forget exactly where it goes through. I think it's like the Manhattan Tunnel, expanding it or whatever. And we're talking about.
Hey, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Mate, appreciate that, dude.
They say this is going to be great for the economy. We're pumping all this money. We're giving all these jobs. But nobody talks about the fact that this project will take anywhere from 30 to 40 years to complete.
Well, and also you're not just talking about all the other things that were passed inside of that bill that nobody's talking about. And that's the shit that I was referring to. You have all these little earmarked pages and all these little tiny things that are thrown into this giant bills and these infrastructures that are put in, where at the end of the day, do you want to know why it's going to take 30 years to do that? Not just because it's difficult, but because the company that's doing it is going to get paid for the next 30 years to do it. Yeah. And that's really what it is at the end of the day. Oh, and guess what? I can guarantee you the people who own that company are somehow involved or related to the person who put that into the bill.
Point of privilege.
Yeah. Yes.
Which was
Does it matter about the debt ceiling if this number doesn't really exist and we just
because money is not real.
Yeah, it's all made up.
Does it even matter?
No, because it's all fake. Also, the government has a AAA rating with the credit. Like their credit's a AAA rating, but they literally have gazillions of dollars in debt. It makes zero sense.
All right, what did Judge Nardimus think?
Yeah. Yes, please.
About the American debt ceiling?
Just anything we said at this point.
About debt? I don't know what goes on in like America, really. I don't really pay a lot of attention to it.
Don't worry. Most Americans don't either.
Yeah, but in terms of a debt ceiling, we do hear bits and bobs in the UK, and you do see bits and bobs on Twitter and stuff like this. But, in terms of what you were saying, Jamie, about the pandemic, I completely agree with that. When you look at like the outlay in terms of the UK, I can just talk about the UK as kind of like an example. All of these businesses, what were paid money and workers to basically stay afloat effectively. That's basically just pennies compared to what all these big banks and all these big corporations get paid out. It's literally pennies compared to it. But I think the interesting point is, and this is pretty much a universal point as well. When it comes to money, it's always the little people who get blamed. It's always the little, you know what I mean? It's never the big corporations. So
Yeah,
I think that just got highlighted even more during like the pandemic for me was the difference in wealth and the difference in equality as well. I think the pandemic, in terms of the pandemic, I don't think, in terms of the illness itself, of course, it did kill people, but I think the real pandemic is kind of now, is the fallout from the pandemic itself. This is like what it's done, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, so many people, you know, unable to work, their businesses collapse, and this is worldwide. This is not something that's just here in America that happened. It was literally worldwide. It completely changed people's lives. And now that we've decided that we're just going to like turn a switch and everything is normal again, it's like, yes, it's, you know, we flipped a switch and everything's normal again and everything's turned back on, but people are still in debt. People haven't worked for months. People's businesses, they don't have money to open their doors back up and start over. And it's like, those are the people who are getting blamed, but Walmart's still around. Fucking, we still have a military that has a $20 zillion budget, even though we're not in the middle of a war or anything like that. Like, there's all these different things that they're going to, but you don't see us being like, take it away from there. We're taking it away from the American people or any government who isn't helping the American people and are catering to these big businesses, are these rich, famous people. I think that's the problem. And I think that that's also just worldwide and not just here.
Well, I think,
I
think we've seen a switch from catering to big businesses to catering to individual congressmen and representatives. And the reason I say that is because what is every member of Congress doing? And even the president, they're blaming the corporations. They're blaming these businesses.
But that's the people who are lining their pockets at the end of the day and who are lobbying with them.
Yes, they're blaming the very people who fund them and fund their campaigns. And with that, these Congress people are getting rich as fuck through insider trading that they just ignore when people say something about it. They're like, no, that's not an issue. We need to talk about something else.
You know what? Martha Stewart did her time. Someone else should. G for that. She was a hard G for that. She's like, no, I'm not G.
When you see somebody in Congress who was not a millionaire before they came into Congress, even 10 years ago, who is now worth $40 million or $30 million, you have to ask, what's actually going on? What are they really doing?
I just told you right now. I literally just answered all your questions. I solved this already. You throw this one in the trash. Done. I figured it out.
Kari, do you have any words or are you pointless?
I'm uninformed. I think there's obviously a lot of money in lobbying. With there's a lot of these super PACs and there's billions floating around there to influence campaigns and different social issues and bills and stuff. Like, it's just kind of a given that that's how they get rich because that's what lobbying is.
Yep.
So, I'm surprised it's so quiet at Universal.
What was that? Debt ceiling?
I got our hair on a good day.
Really before it opens.
I think we're gonna move on from this.
Yes, give us the next
day.
Or else I'm just gonna yell at Tony more.
That you get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Please be gun control. Please be gun control. So I can control
No. That was a hot one over here. Oh no, we were supposed to keep it out of this.
So just put it to the side, pick a different one.
No, do it.
No.
They don't want to.
It was
We're gonna respect
UFO
the UFO.
mild. So yeah.
Yeah.
Pick a different one. Of course, that's the one you pulled too. You were like, "Well, there's one in here."
You know, listen, we found a safe space, and I respect it. If only we were
Respect
strong
it.
enough to do this.
I know, right?
We're
We're haters.
go deeper in- Well, let's get jobs that involve it. Okay. Oh, so this is the idea that there are suppressed views. Is that a hallucination? Is that real? I think lots of people on YouTube think that their views are suppressed.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh,
you mean
like shadow bans and
Shadow
Yeah,
banning.
and like,
Yeah.
you know, shit like that. And I feel like you guys have probably also dealt with it.
I mean, we've constantly been told that the UFO community is shadow banned, but
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I just think it's bullshit. So people don't buy into it, and it's as simple as that. It's because like this is the thing about shadow banning and stuff. I'm going to reference the UFO topic because that's all I can kind of
That's
go on.
the perfect one.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I think when you're kind of involved in UFOs and you're on UFO Twitter daily, for example, you literally think that is like such a huge community. You think it's like there's so much going on, but it's literally because you're so like involved with it. But when you take a step back, no one knows who the fuck these guys are. Like no one gives a shit. That's what people need to realize. No one cares about Lou. No one cares about Congress.
No one even knows.
No one cares about the hearing.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about it because there's no proof. So when people say there's shadow banning, it's literally because there's no interest. That's it.
It's a hard to swallow, but
Yeah. So when it comes to like shadow banning, it's like I don't think that exists. To be honest, that's just my opinion.
I think that there
are websites where you can check it for Twitter, where it shows you if it's shadow banned.
I do think there are suppressed voices in journalism and media, but I don't think it's related to like.
But then
that's
could
like a
include
separate
YouTube.
issue. That could include YouTube, but
if you say media, like it could include YouTube.
But in terms of suppression, I mean just like society, like if you have a certain opinion and it's not what the mainstream kind of thinks, you're like kind of suppressed in that way. So so in terms of suppression, I agree that kind of thing goes on, but shadow banning on YouTube, I'm not sure if it does.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. So he's basically, I kind of agree. So you're saying like, it's not that YouTube is shadow banning you. It's that your content kind of sucks. No one wants to watch it.
Well,
Sorry.
I think that
in a non-harsh way.
I think that there's two folds to it, though. I think that here's the thing: we all are unfortunately slaves to whatever algorithm the app is that we're using, right? So YouTube specifically, at the end of the day, isn't really pushing this kind of information forward. Yeah. So I think that part of it is yes, it's not that you have maybe your content's not the greatest, but I think also part of it is that YouTube's not going out there like, oh, this alien show that gets 200 views, we should put that on the For You page right now. You know what I mean?
But
YouTube,
because YouTube is basically trying to stop misinformation and things like this.
No, I think what YouTube is trying to do is YouTube is trying to make money. So what they're doing, I think, is that their algorithm is poised in a way to make them the most money. So they're putting people forward who make them the most money. I think it's as simple as YouTube has decided that this kind of genre for them isn't as profitable as other areas. There are people on the app who are into that kind of stuff like that. Exactly. Like they can make money. Don't get me wrong. There's people who have like 1 million whatever and they do UFO stuff. But at the end of the day, that's not where YouTube's making their big money at. They're making it in other areas. So I think that it's shadow banning, but in less of a way than what people realize. It's not because they're specifically being targeted. It's just because YouTube they're not being useful to YouTube. So they're not going to be useful to you.
Okay.
I hear you. Sure. What made me think about this was, Jaimie, that our audio that you told us recently, which is shocking compared to YouTube numbers.
Oh, yeah. So we're getting like what, maybe 200 on a good day views on a YouTube video for the most part. That's like a pretty average for us, sometimes more, sometimes less. But on our audio side, over the past 10 days, we've had over 10,000 downloads.
Wow.
Wow, that's really good.
That's really good. Yeah,
it's surprising.
So it's like
Oh my-
it's
what the
it's
hell?
literally the same thing that's here. All I do is I take it, I turn it into audio, and then I drop it into our audio feed. Like it's not like I'm not spicing it up. I'm not doing anything. It's minus the video. It's a completely different platforms. We're also on a lot more
on the
platforms.
go, or maybe listening on commutes.
Well,
and
maybe
stuff,
that's
so maybe
because
that's more popular.
Maybe that's because YouTube, because we talked about this at the start of the show, but YouTube now is very short form content.
They're trying to be like TikTok.
Yeah, but when you listen
Instagram
to a
Reels
podcast, which is like an audio podcast, you can just put it on in the background, and
Yep.
you don't have to see the screen. So it works in a different way, I guess.
Yeah,
you can clean your house. You're on a road trip, whatever. You're sitting at home, you're mowing the lawn or doing yard work or whatever. You can just pop in a 2-hour podcast and just work and listen while you're doing it.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I think so. Shadow banning, I think there's like two different folds to this, because we were all at one point a part of the UFO community in one shape or form or the other. And we all know that there were people who were telling people not to go on people's shows.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so then that would be a different version.
That is like a centralized type of shadow banning. That is a community that is forcing its own narrative.
Yeah,
when it comes
to
against
the guidelines of YouTube as well. So people should watch that.
And when it comes to YouTube,
and not comfortable to say.
Just let people make up their own minds about other channels.
To me, it's just dumb. It's just dumb anyway. I mean, we haven't been shy with our, when we've talked about someone, we don't hold back a lot of the time. But that doesn't mean the door's not open.
Right.
The door was always open for anyone to come on our show and explain and provide the proof for their claims. But the door never, no one ever came in to prove anything. So for us, it's like a dumb argument to kind of suppress people in the UFO community, because we're all in the kind of same position. Really.
Yeah.
No one knows what the fuck's going on. So surely you'd want to speak to everyone to kind of find that out.
Yep.
Which is what we tried to do. And when we did do that, that's when all the bullshit with,
welcome to the club.
So to me,
we know that well.
It's just silly. It's just silly for me.
It is. Unfortunately, but you're right. There's like this. Twitter is its own little itty bitty thing, and I can definitely say that there's shadow banning happening, not maybe from Twitter itself, but from the community but I feel like this happens in any kind of community. You have people who have a certain narrative that they want to have out there, so they're the ones that control it, and they're doing everything in their power. And that's just kind of a fact of life. So I think when a lot of people think they're shadow banned, I think that they think it's so much bigger. It's like, oh, the government shadow banning. They don't
like
want
somebody's like physically
out.
clicking all these algorithms to like hide them,
and it's
like
really
not that deep.
It's not that
right.
It's not that important.
You're not that important. You're really
not that high horse. Okay, no.
But so that makes me think of. Do you guys know what Elsa Gate is?
Elsa
Gate.
It's in the Disney princess.
No.
Yeah, right. It's a Frozen.
Freezing people's channel.
Yes, absolutely.
People think Elsa was actually a lesbian.
I agree.
That is a theory. No, that's
She could be. I mean, she doesn't ever get with anybody.
But I'm
I think everyone's a little bisexual. So
I'm about to tell you what Elsa Gate was with YouTube.
No, I'm not. But Josh does like to do it.
Hey,
no.
Everyone here's like, it's fine.
I know it's live. It's good.
Oh God, no.
So Elsa
Tony,
Gate,
what
right?
is it?
Elsa Gate was the YouTube algorithm would boost anything that had to do with like Elsa, Shrek, like certain Disney characters and child's programs. And there was a bunch of Indian-based channels that use predictive text and stuff to exploit the algorithm. And they created these really weird videos. And they just put them out there, and they were completely inappropriate. It was like the Joker killing Harlequin with Elsa watching, and like a bunch of really weird stuff. That's how the
films.
That's how the Momo thing.
Like,
you know why?
Like I friended KARI with gay talk.
That's fine.
Feel bad.
Do you know why they did that? Because that's what made them money.
I am
They put
so
all the stuff.
offended.
I didn't know that. That's cool. That,
So what these channels figured out was what the
it.
algorithm wanted to promote,
Mhm.
and they made these random ass like AI fever dream videos that had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the title,
No.
and just push those titles out, because we all know that's why
it's
our
funny.
Getty video has over 250 views and our Momo video has like 160, because how we title a video, what we put in that title is the first thing the YouTube algorithm sees and how it pushes it forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did towards the end of our show. We like completely revamped how we did the thumbnails, how we did the titles, and we noticed a little bit of a bump in views and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. Plus, it's
Yeah,
always
use
good to like kind of keep it fresh and mix it up. And over time as well, you just kind of got more comfortable doing like different sort of thumbnails and being more creative too.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to make your titles and thumbnails stand out. That's what someone clicks on at the end of the day. So you're right, Tony. You know, you need to make sure the title is going to be seen and noticed.
Yeah, but I have seen like thumbnails that like, for example, like cooking thumbnails where like they'll put a recipe on like the thumbnail that looks, you know, delicious, and you click on it and it's actually nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so it is very clickbait and like misleading to the content. So I mean,
I judge people by their thumbnails. Sometimes I see a thumbnail. If it's raggedy, then I'm not clicking that video. I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what, you know, that's the point, is like your thumbnails need to be like attractive and like enticing you to click on it to see what the video is actually about. Yeah.
Like,
so if it's boring, they're not going to click on it.
I think you guys do a good job, and
yeah.
I think KARI, you do Steve Cambion's thumbnails as well.
That's me.
Yeah,
those are good too.
Yeah, you do a really good job with the thumbnails for sure.
Well, when it comes to YouTube, one of the things that I think about is there is a YouTuber. His name is Matt Carrick. He runs the YouTube channel called Demolition Ranch. Well, no, if you've heard, he's got 10 million subscribers on Demolition Ranch and is almost always demonetized because it's gun stuff. So with a channel as big as his, he would be making $28 for every 1,000 views.
Imagine.
That would be hilarious if Tony just came up
if I was
behind
in Canada.
It would actually be funny if one by one we all just slowly walked into Bree's camera.
We should do it one day.
One day,
guys, come here anytime you want. You know.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I would love to.
One by one, we all enter the same box.
Just one by one. It's like the Brady Bunch, but all on one screen.
So this is a channel with 10 million subscribers that he would normally get somewhere around $28 for every, like 1,000 views is $28, right?
Ooh, big baller,
for a channel that big. So he's getting like 2 or 3 or 4 million views per episode that he puts out, per video he puts out.
About three grand a video.
Yes, and he does multiple videos a week. YouTube makes like $48 per video, but since they demonetized him, now they're making over $80 a video
because they're taking
almost
all the revenue.
$80 because they take all of the revenue. So they have this super popular channel, and they said, "Well, we're going to demonetize you because you have guns on your channel and you shoot targets on a private range and do all these things that we don't like. So we're going to take all of the profit from your channel, but you still have your own personal sponsors." There's a lot of people that sponsor, a lot of gun companies that sponsor the channel and stuff. But I think it's very disingenuous to do stuff like that because you have a very successful channel and you're just saying, well, we're going to take all of the profit that we would give you because you're doing something that we don't like, but we're not going to ban you.
Why are you surprised by that? Once again, it's the money. It's the people and the corporations. But they didn't shadow ban him. He still gets his million views because it makes YouTube money. YouTube knows that people like that content.
Yeah.
We gotta start making money, man.
I was like, yeah, show more guns or something. I don't know.
That's
We
the
would
goal.
get shut the fuck down
I know we
if
really
I
would.
showed a gun on this show.
All right, Bree, will you pull the next one?
Three things,
Actually,
really.
I'm gonna do it.
since Kari's
Ooh.
here, Kari can do it.
Perfect.
Woo. Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
We have another
I hope it's Joe for
special
life.
guest
Joe for life.
staying with us at this house, but I'm unsure if he wants to be outed. But
I think he's busy.
there is someone else that's pretty cool and important that's also staying with us.
Tea or coffee?
I'm curious who it is.
Ooh,
Tea or coffee? Coffee.
Ooh, tea or coffee? That's hard.
Coffee.
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 I like
I am a triple shot of espresso over ice with 5 scoops of vanilla bean, topped off with half and half, and I have 2 to 3 of those a day. So I have anywhere from
You make that
6.
yourself?
No, I go to Starbucks. I have
Wow.
anywhere from 6 to 9 shots of espresso daily.
Wow.
How the
That's
fuck
hard.
are
I
you alive?
really love both. It's
I know.
like 50-50 for me.
I'm definitely a tea man for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
That's because
But
you're from
that's
the
the
UK.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be a British thing, man.
I've been enjoying not
Like-
having tea because I drink way
Yeah,
too
I've
much
been
tea.
giving.
I
Kari-
used to drink too much tea, but now I limit myself to about 4 cups of tea a day. And
That's not bad.
Those are rookie numbers.
Well, more or less, but it actually does have like a lot of caffeine, and sometimes we'd be drinking it at like 10 or 11 at night, and then
God,
like
sleepy time
wondering
tea.
why we're not sleeping well, and then we're like, oh yeah, there's like caffeine in this, so
Yeah.
we should probably
Mhm.
tone it down.
So I get like a
But
double.
yeah.
there's like a small amount of caffeine, but yeah.
Do you guys have like a favorite type of tea that you like, or like is it just like regular
Yorkshire.
black tea that you guys are into?
It's only Yorkshire tea. We get it. That's the
Yeah.
only tea to drink.
For me, when I'm sick, I love chamomile tea, but I grew
Yorkshire-
up on it because I'm Greek.
You can
so.
have Yorkshire tea, or like there's some Tetley's as well, which is like a good brand in the UK.
Yeah, but it's not as good. It's not as
Wow. Okay, so
good.
the tea that
We
I
got
have.
it once when there was no Yorkshire available, and it wasn't as good. But I mean, it did the job. But like,
I love tea. I used to work at a tea shop back in the day, and so like I have a lot of tea, but I do love coffee more.
Tapioca Express.
Yeah, Tapioca
Come
Express,
on,
exactly. Shout it
and-
out.
and
Give us a sponsor. But I have
right.
tons of different kinds of tea. Like I have Earl Greys and coconut creams and chais and all sorts of stuff. And I make my own chai blend like by hand. I have like all the whole ingredients on my fridge in little containers, and I like get them out and like pound them together and cook them and shit. Yeah.
that's legit.
Yeah.
That's committed to.
Kari was like,
I was like, she's lying.
I'm not. Show me. Hold on. Okay, watch this. Watch. Hold on.
She's not.
Wait,
Oh, now we get show and tell.
She's.
Love it.
So there was
some
something in here that now I feel like if I pull it, I'll just toss it. But there was another one that I did right, and
I'm
it
so sorry, Bree,
was
that I didn't make you a chai when you were here. But we
no,
have
milk and tea. That is so
our
weird.
knees. We
Milk
got
and tea.
ginger.
Depends
we
what tea
got-
you have. If you're having like a
Cardamom.
traditional tea, like a Tetley's or Yorkshire, then yes, milk.
Yeah.
But
Peppermint
if
milk.
you're having like Earl Grey or green
All
tea,
right,
then
Jane.
Like purple
Spice.
teas. Purple teas, no. Black teas, yes.
yeah,
For milk, do you have to drink it with milk?
no.
I prefer
I like my tea
it,
with milk. Yeah.
and I also use honey, not sugar. like-
For a long time, I used to use like agave, the stuff that comes out of like cactuses.
Yeah.
Comes
Yeah,
out
that
of
was
the
like-
house.
Absolutely
like a
no
trend for a
flavor
while.
whatsoever. I just
Put
liked it because it didn't have
agave.
any flavor. You know how like sugar or like sweet and low or honey has like a flavor to it?
Like,
Sorry.
there's,
But I like the agave because the agave doesn't taste like anything. It's just like it's sweet.
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
I had
predictions.
pretty tea, that's what my sister calls it, which
I
is
still don't
like
get that. but-
tea with milk and sugar. And so last time she was here, she's like, "Do you want a Britty tea?" And I'm like, "What's a Britty tea?" And she's like, "There's milk."
That's what makes it.
I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh shit,
Well,
I'll
I think
try
it's like the
Hey,
traditional.
Lou.
Hi, Lou. How you doing, mate?
Kari's here in
Yeah.
the States.
In terms of traditional way to drink tea in the UK, it's actually black anyway. You don't have milk in your tea. Traditional.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Then how do
So
why
you
do
go
we
against the grain.
Well, yeah, but now it's like common to have like milk in your tea. But back in the day when like 200 years ago, no one had milk.
Yeah, they didn't really have
Well,
milk.
you're
Yeah.
saying 200 years ago, did people like have the capacity to refrigerate it properly?
No,
for
but
a
you've
long
got a cow
time
outside the house. Just fucking go and milk
Yeah,
it.
you just milk it
No, I
yourself.
got it
It's
wrong
fresh.
if it was that. If
Have
that
you
was
guys
my
ever been?
option,
Have you guys ever been to
those
tea
things that fit
parties
or
before?
have
I've
black
been
tea.
to like real tea parties before, where they have like the little cucumber
Thai
sandwiches.
tea? I've never
Yes,
Thai
because-
tea, yeah.
That's because you went to a private school.
Well, that's one of the reasons, but I
Well,
didn't go
yeah,
to tea
finish
at
your
private
thought,
school.
Tony. You got a point of privilege.
Yeah, go for it,
Okay.
Tones.
So, what do you guys think my preference is?
Whiskey.
Black. Coffee black.
I
is
think-
black.
I can picture a coffee black drink. For sure.
I think Tony's a tea
So,
kind of guy.
I start my day with a coffee black, but then I go to the coffee
Sweet tea.
shop and I get a dirty chai milk tea.
What's a dirty chai?
What? A dirty chai is with a shot of espresso in it.
Yes.
Oh,
So it's a chai with a shot of
I've
espresso.
never mixed tea and coffee before.
Dirty
I've never
chai
heard of
is a
that.
very white girl kind of drink, so I'm surprised that
Listen.
that's what Tony drinks, because it's very like, I'll take a dirty chai.
Wait.
I told you we're all a little
Look.
gay.
Yeah, I love tea. I'm
Look,
ordering
I
that
can
at
imagine
Starbucks.
Tony and Starbucks doing that.
Yeah.
Right now.
Oh my
That's
god,
what I do.
it
Fall,
would be
you
brilliant.
get PSLs.
Yeah,
in
do you
the
get
fall
pumpkin spice
time.
lattes too?
No, I drink hot dirty chais all fucking year long.
Wow.
Nice.
I-
Do you have a lot of
Yeah,
candles
for
in your
sure.
house?
Like coffee in the
Yoga
morning,
pants
Not
on?
mine.
the rest of the day for sure.
Yeah.
That's how
Wow,
we
learning
roll.
more and more about
Coming
you.
up now.
I didn't know Danielle was a lesbian.
My thong is riding up so hard up my ass right
Is it
now.
silk? Did you get it from
Yes.
Victoria's Secret? Are you
did.
Victoria's Secret?
I am.
It's like
Amazing
I'll never
job.
tell.
All right, what's the next one, Car?
Be allowed in schools?
Say it again.
Say that again.
Should ChatGPT be allowed in schools?
Like as cheating?
But that's the thing.
It's
Is
like an
it cheating?
educational tool, kind of.
Well, it's like available now, so you can't not stop it. Really.
Yeah.
Um,
You can't really ban it from children at this point. I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, everybody uses it, and then you just rewrite it slightly so it doesn't sound like it's from ChatGPT. But I feel like everyone, like, it's just a tool that everybody uses now. Like, you can't. It's like that would be telling a kid to, like, once the internet started, being like, oh, well, you can't look things up on the internet. You're only allowed to use the dictionary or like
That's
the
exactly
what are the
Yeah.
encyclopedias
That's
before,
exactly
you
what I
know?
was
Like,
told.
oh, okay.
And we're like, yeah, sure, we'll only read what's in the encyclopedia. So I
Let's
think
go
it's
to
kind of
the
like that
library
next
instead of
evolution.
the
Yeah.
That was my school life. I mean, I was like kind of in between the internet and not
Same.
the internet. So I had like the dial-up stuff when I was
Same.
so you couldn't really use the internet for anything. So in some ways, I'm kind of like jealous that I didn't go to school now. Because if I was at school now, I would have absolutely smashed school now. But it was a lot harder.
yeah.
It was a lot harder than I thought at school than it is now. Like school for me now looks easy as fuck. It does because you've got
Yeah.
ChatGPT, you've got Google, you've got all sorts of shit. But back then you didn't.
No.
You really
Well, and
didn't.
back then there was only like so many answers to things. Like you're right. Like you had to look. I remember being in like elementary school and having to look things up inside encyclopedias for my like projects and stuff. So like you only had one answer to things. It wasn't like you could go to 800 websites and find a bunch of different different information that's out there. So of course it was easier. Now everyone has these opinions. There's things that could be right or could be wrong, and there's a million more facts that are out there. So I think you're right. It does make it so much harder because now we have an overload of information, and it's hard to figure out what's real and not real through all of it.
Discernment.
Sure.
And even
Oh.
ChatGPT is like that. So somebody said that they asked it to write a paper and give sources, and they were like, "Oh, perfect." And then they went and looked, and all the sources were fake. Like it just made up all the
It made
sources.
them all up. Yeah.
It's not like
Wow.
it went and gave real sources because it was just like, well,
Y'all
you didn't
prove it.
specify that. Yeah, it was like I can make up whatever I want to make up.
Man, teachers have their work cut out for them
I
having to
think-
figure all this crap out.
I think in terms of like schooling and education and university and everything like that, I think we're about to see a big change into how people learn.
Yeah.
And that's partly due to the pandemic as well, because, you know, that kind of showed that, oh yeah, we can actually do all this kind of stuff from home anyway. So
Yeah.
I think over the next few years, you will see things like ChatGPT maybe being used in a more serious way for learning. For example, it's still new now, of course, so we need to give it time to like develop. But you can kind of see where the world's going. More kids and more parents and things are working from home, for example. And I think you're going to see a big difference in how kids learn from school.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think the scary thing is how if your kid is being taught by an AI and you don't like or you don't agree with something that they're being taught or the way it's being taught or any part of their education, you're just like, hey, I have a question about why you graded this paper this way. It doesn't have to be like, I don't agree with math. Who gives a shit? But there's things where it's like, why did it decide that the way my kid wrote this was plagiarism when it wasn't? Like, you have to think about those kinds of things.
That's
too.
what I mean. Like, will they end up saying you cannot use this because of those reasons? Like, does that count as plagiarism?
Mm-hmm.
And I have been seeing lots of TikTok videos of, like professors that are like, there was, a bunch of students and they all basically turned in like the same paper because they all used ChatGPT and it gave them all the same answer. And then I saw another video where it was someone's dad and he was saying that the school that, he's working for now, they had some type of software that could identify if the student had used ChatGPT somehow.
They can't.
And I wonder
those kind of programs to know.
When I was at university, they had something similar. If you
that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. But when you like kind of submit a paper, there's like an algorithm what they're using. It detects what keywords and what sentences, and it basically just goes on the internet and looks for
everything.
Yeah. So there are things in place for that sort of stuff for sure.
I think we had something called Turnitin or something where you would upload your paper to it.
That's exactly the same thing I'm talking about, Tony. Yeah,
it would scan every single sentence and would say there's a 40% chance that this is taken from here. And you'd have to rewrite it just to.
But like some of the time though, it's because you haven't correctly sourced your information, so you have to always put where you got your information from at the bottom of the page. If you haven't done that, then the program will think you're cheating. But as long as you verify where the information is coming from, usually it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like half and half about it. I don't know if it should count as plagiarism or not. Like, it's easier way, but I don't know.
But are you learning anything if you just type a question into ChatGPT and copy paste?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Tony. I didn't learn much in high school in general.
Well, I'm not talking about a high school. I'm talking about college.
Ask 2 questions, you answer it, but because it's already got the information. It can
wrong.
It's a way to test students, maybe, but
well, I think what you have to do is you have to change the way we're doing things now. So instead of kids turning in papers that they're writing about a subject, maybe you change their curriculum with everything around. So instead of writing a paper, you're forcing your kids to do a presentation or something like that. So they can use ChatGPT in part of it, but then there's other things and applications that they have to be doing as well, like having to stand up and present it in front of an audience and showing their, things that they made or something. Like you just have to change the avenue with how the technology is progressing.
Do your chat GPT homework, whatever it is that what it wrote.
A smart student would use it to enhance their own knowledge instead of just using it to write a paper. But
exactly. And what you said there, Jamie, was interesting as well, because that's what I fear for the young people. Really, is are they spending too much time on the computer? Like they don't have really much balance in their lives. So I think schools do have a responsibility as well to kind of make sure there's that balance there, because if you're constantly on the computer 24 hours a day, then you're not going to have any kind of social skills.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem that we have with that, though. The problem we have with that is that public schools at this point are glorified babysitting, right? And they're guising it under the fact of education. And that's really all it is. It's somewhere to send your kid to for the first 18 years of your life so that you don't have to deal with them during the daytime. And there's a profit inside of that. Not that people don't realize it, but the school system is making lots of money from the government, and it's not all going to your kids and stuff like that. So I think that, yes, there is a duty, but also not. At the end of the day, this is a government institution They are just doing things to get by, and they're not, I mean, like I said, most of the things that I learned in high school have absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now as an adult in life. And I think that about
Agreed.
like 90% of people can agree with those statements. They didn't teach me how to do taxes. They didn't even teach me how to vote. They didn't teach me about like any of that kind of stuff. Like I had to learn all of that.
And like doing,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
I've learned all these things on my
managing your
own.
finances properly.
I know that a mitochondrion is the powerhouse of a cell or some shit, but like I don't know what the hell that means in application, and I'm never going to use it. Or like I can tell the circumference of something, but what the fuck does that matter? Like we're not learning real things in school at the end of the day. And I think unfortunately college is now turning into that, which is why it's so much of a joke and why people are like, you know, Lou had said earlier about how brick and mortar universities are like dead. And it's true because like it's just people paying to get a piece of paper saying that they are certified in that thing, but you actually can't guarantee that that person has any real knowledge about it. Like you can't guarantee they didn't cheat. You can't guarantee they didn't plagiarize half the things that they went through. Like it makes me terrified for things like doctors and accountants and stuff that are out there. Like all you did was pay someone for a piece of paper. That doesn't mean you can do your job.
No, now you're
not
just
only that,
student loan debt.
Yeah, not only that, they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of these universities, and they're not gaining real world education. They're just gaining
debt. They're just gaining debt. And then they're like suffering to pay it off. No, and I think as also like, especially a few years maybe out of high school, like that's when like you start to figure out, like, unless you really have like your path like set out and like you knew you were going to always do this one thing. I think as you get older, then you get like, once you're interested in something, then you do your research on like, you know, how can you learn more and maybe different ways of learning, either through experience or, you know, there's so many options for like online courses you can do here and there, and kind of like pick and choose like what, you know, what you're interested in. Whereas like, I think there's a lot of pressure when you graduate that's like, well, what do you want to do? Go to college or go to university? Do you have enough credits or do you have this? And like, you know,
decide what you want to do with your life right now.
Why don't you know what you want to do for a living? And it's like, well, because I'm 18.
Yeah.
I have no experience. So, you know, I could start off going one way and then realize, you know, 5 or 10 years from now, that's nothing of what I wanted to do. And I basically wasted my time and money. And now I'm like paying off debt and trying to find a job where they're like, do you have experience? And you're like, no, I just need something to help me like survive and float. And, you know, so that I can actually focus on things I'm actually interested in and want to, you know, want to pursue.
I think as well,
it's hard.
I think it depends what you want to do. I mean, I did music production at university, which now is absolutely like it's fucking worthless effectively, because you can literally learn everything off YouTube for that course. And spend it, and it's free as well. So I spent thousands of pounds for pretty much no fucking reason effectively. Which kind of annoys me sometimes, but but I agree in terms of like the traditional way, especially with higher education, when you get to like high school or university, for example, I think that kind of schooling and learning is kind of a thing of the past, really. I think what Lou was saying before, like the brick and mortar universities being dead, I completely agree. I think a lot of the time you can kind of do specialist online courses which focus exactly on what you want to do. I think a university course is more of a broader kind of thing you get. You get like a broader kind of education on the subject, but I think it's more like a valuable thing when you actually go and look at a specific course, what you want to take, and get that.
Yeah,
it's the importance of technical schools. That's why they have technical schools out there.
Yes.
You take a few years off out of high school. You get a job at a grocery store. You hang out. You figure out what you want to do, and then you go and apply for a technical college. You get serious, and then in a year and a half, you're done and you're out in the working field. I think that's the world we're going towards now, and I'm very grateful for that, because I think that I think degrees are just going to be useless here in the next 50 years. There's going to be no point in them, other than like, don't get me wrong, like doctors and like lawyers or something, but like for the most part,
they learned how to
people, it's not going to be this thing where like the majority of people go to colleges. It's going to be a smaller and smaller amount as time goes on. I think 1,000%.
there's a lot of like office jobs that you can learn so much on the job. Like I started like, well, this is like years ago, but like I started in customer service and like I learned everything about being a data analyst through coworkers and stuff. And then I didn't have any education background in that. And then I started pursuing that for a while.
And now we're doing a course, actually. We're doing a data
We are doing a data analytics course.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah. But like, that just shows you that also, like, if you give people the tools and opportunity in the job and they want to learn, like they can also learn that way. So I do think that it's like a positive change that we're looking at like broader ways to learn and not just have gone to college or university, because not everybody wants to or can learn just from reading a textbook and not having any sort of experience. And the other thing, like, do I want to get into all this debt? And what if I change my mind? And like, it's a lot of stress and pressure. For real. And also, if you're not somebody who can just sit in a classroom for hours every single day, and you know, some people are more visual, or some people need to actually just physically do it. So there's so many different ways you can learn. So it's not like we're just trying to throw education out the window. It's more like we're trying to broaden,
make it fit better.
Yeah. Make it, you know, make it more human, not just like robotic. And it's like, you know, some people get really put under pressure if they're doing like a quiz or a test, but you know, on any other day of the week, they know their stuff, but then they freeze up. No, but then they, you know, freeze up. They're like horribly on a test. And it's like, no, but I actually knew that. But because of all this pressure, it's like it gets to people and they fail, but really they could succeed if they were put in a different sort of learning environment.
What is it? You can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Yeah.
Whoever said that.
I agree with that. Cool. I mean, it's like we should be changing the education system to actually work for the people. Like, because we obviously, it doesn't work for everybody. I'll never forget one time I had to take a test. I get really bad anxiety. And I had to take a test. And like the second I sat down and the room was silent, my stomach was like blah, 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 blah. I was like,
for sure. Yeah, I didn't love doing tests.
Let me tell you,
overthink everything.
Out of that bathroom, and it was not good, and I missed my test because of like the anxiety that I had. It just like my stomach was like, nope, and then I had to find another time to retake it, and so it was like that. It just doesn't.
I did that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive changes towards like education and like just the way that we're like actually evaluating like how kids adapt and learn, and like how can we actually help them learn, instead of just saying, well, clearly, like, you know, you should maybe be set back or whatever because you're not doing it this exact way. But there's so many ways to learn, you know.
No, for sure. Sorry, guys. Our hour mark. We barely got through any topics today, but I love when we do that. Josh and Artemis, I want to thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Come on more.
Whenever you want to come on, it's every other Thursday. We are here. I was like, you were more than welcome to come. We absolutely love it. We love all these other people's opinions and ideas. And I think that it's important to have just as many open conversations with people as you can about as many crazy topics as you can. There's no reason not to. We're all here just to experience being human at the end of the day. So let's just experience being human.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great.
We've had a blast. Anytime you guys want us to send us a message.
Oh, absolutely. We will. Any final thoughts from anyone before we click the out video? Make sure you guys follow Josh and Artemis.
I have to do this every show. Where can we find
where can we find everybody?
Josh and Artemis, but where can we find
Twitter,
YouTube. You know where to find us, guys.
Just search the Josh and Artemis show. Thankfully, that title is pretty unique, no matter the algorithm.
Those listening, Tony, we appreciate you.
Yes.
What? Where can they find you?
Me?
Yeah.
You can find me. Shit, it's right here. Right here at Bot Water on the Twitter, and I'll probably offend you and piss you off. So.
Oh, perfect.
Do you still do YouTube? Like, do you have your own channel still, or no?
I do. I just don't.
You haven't done anything.
You don't do anything.
I haven't done anything. But actually, you guys just brought up a good thing.
We have fully adopted him.
Yeah.
I am actually planning on doing a series where I do like a review with the people that I did do the podcast with and bring them back on and see where they are now as of where they were over a year ago.
Oh, I like that, Tony.
Oh man, we'd have to rewatch that episode we did with you. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Well,
That's a fun idea, though.
That is a fun idea, though. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just to
Yeah,
see
Let us know.
where everybody has evolved over the time and what they think the subject is at now. It will be kind of focused on the previous subject of UFOs, but just where we're at now, how we've evolved, how we've changed over the time.
As long as
what
it's
has
brief,
led us
Tony, as long as it's very brief about UFOs. Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, Linz.
Yes. All right,
We were
guys.
nervous coming on the stream. It's been a little while since.
No, you guys did fantastic. This is like,
Yeah,
well,
you guys-
you guys back into gear now. Yeah, nice. You're gonna be like, oh, I want to go live now.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
We'll see.
All right, guys. I'm gonna hit the outro button. We love you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.